What's up, everybody? This is Henry from Conoly Coaster Designs coming at you with a brand new Iron Menace construction update. It feels good to actually say Iron Menace construction update. Sorry this one's coming out so late this week. My intentions were to have this out way earlier in the week, and things got waylaid. Thanks to a new promotion at work and all that fun stuff.
Oh, good
so, anyway,
for you!
We're going to roll right into a construction update here. So this is going to be a little bit of a look at what's happening at the park, and of course my photos are now a few days old. I don't have any new photos from the park. My newest photos will come this Sunday. It'll be a look at the plans as submitted to South Whitehall Township and see where we are at versus the plans, both in demolition and new construction. Then I'm going to point out a couple things that people have noticed around the area where Iron Menace is going to be and where some of the construction is going to be going on, and explain what those are for people that may not know what they are. And then I have a little surprise at the end, and it's a little surprise that myself and Justin, whom you've heard me talk about on this whole entire series before, we've talked about this today, and the moment we saw this news today, our instant first thoughts were Dorney Park. And I'm sure once we get into this part of the episode today, plenty of you watching will agree with me. So I'm going to try and keep it as brief as possible here, now that we aren't speculating, now that we are just purely talking about Iron Menace and where we're going from where we're at now to next year when this thing opens. I'm going to try and keep the episodes a little more compact, a little more, of course, detailed, but try not to make them as long as they have been. They've been as long as they were thanks to the speculation aspect. So, we're going to roll right into talking about what we're seeing at the construction site right now. And of course, we're going to move right into the first photos we got here. This is looking from Possessed, down the former maintenance road towards those back sheds. As you can see, as of these photos being taken on Sunday, there are two pieces of equipment on site. Both of those pieces of equipment have been ripping up both the pavement. They've been implemented and being used in helping tear down various pieces of foliage that are, various foliage around the construction site, which that foliage was marked on the plans submitted to South Whitehall Township as to what was going to be demolished. In this photo, you can also make out some markings going down that remaining bit of service road that is going to mark out existing utilities. And in the very right side of that, kind of obscured by the bush, you're going to see a new color flag on site, and then you're going to see those over on the left side of the photo by the other bush there, and I'll get to what those are in a moment here. So, looking again from Possessed into the main area, this is going to be looking roughly towards where the first drop of Iron Menace is going to be. Again, you're going to see two more of these green flags. And what these green flags are markers identifying sewage or drainage piping. So these popped up just shortly before the announcement. They popped up just shortly before, of course, they started making headway on the demolition aspect of this construction and this new ride. They marked out all the drainage, all the sewage lines. They marked out all the freshwater lines. The freshwater lines, I don't know if I have any photos of them marked out in this series of photos. They're going to be identified with blue construction marker flags. And again, the sewage ones will be identified with the green flags, or as you can see on the service road, the green paint there. We are well within the demolition phase of this ride. And we're going to see the demolition phase carry on for probably the next, I would say, week or so. Based upon what I've been able to garner from people that have been at the park in the last few days. There is a lot that they have to do. And remember, the demolition aspect of this ride is going to, or this construction is going to include demolishing the pavilion structures in the back, which have both been emptied out, as far as I understand. The demolition phase is going to be removing all of that service road that has been marked for demolition, which I'll show you in another photo when we look at the plans and where we're at and what still has to be done. The other thing that's in the demolition phase is any remaining footers that are below ground, any remaining pieces of Stinger's footers still have to be removed before site grading can begin. The other things that are going to be involved here are going to be removing any of the various drainage that has to be moved, drainage that has to be relocated. So there's a lot within this demolition phase that has to be accomplished before we start to see site grading, before we start to see footers formed, poured, and then, of course, have all the fittings, the bolt assemblies that will receive supports installed. So we are definitely very much in the infancy of this ride, and very early in the construction phase, but it's moving forward, and that's what's exciting here. Moving on to the next photo. This is, of course, looking back towards the bathrooms. Again, all photos taken from publicly accessible areas. Do not violate the park's rules on trespassing. Do not go where you're not supposed to go. I say this in almost every video, but you do not want to miss what is coming, especially with the new haunted attraction, with this new ride, with this new themed area. It's going to really change Dorney Park in a way that we have not seen it changed. But you can see they have removed pretty much all the trees in this area that have been marked for to be removed. As of Sunday, there was that one large tree that was fairly cut up. There's still more that had to be done. I would assume by now that has probably already been removed and turned into mulch, like we'll see in these mulch piles off to the left here. Another large tree in the foreground has been removed, so they are making very steady progress, removing these various plants that they were marked for, or that were marked for destruction. And again, this photo was taken on Sunday. The ride was announced on Thursday. The construction work began almost immediately after that announcement. So they are making very good progress, and hopefully we don't hit any snags. Again, we're going to be working our way into the fall. We're going to be working our way into Pennsylvania winters. Let's hope for a mild winter. Let's hope for a mild winter that doesn't delay this construction, and they can hopefully keep at this pace all the way to March of next year and open this ride with the rest of the park. Cedar Fair has a fairly good track record of opening rides on time and within the time that they project. So let's hope Cedar Fair keeps it going with this ride, and we get the ride Iron Menace. Maybe if not on the opening day of Dorney next year, within a few weeks of opening day. Here you can see where they have ripped up pretty much all of that utility road, that construction road, whatever you want to call it, the maintenance road, up to the concrete pad, which I believe the concrete pad just over the fencing, which if you're at the park, that fencing is covered in tarping. It's a tan, like, tarp material. I believe the concrete pad that comes right after that is not marked for destruction. I believe that's going to become a part of the entrance plaza per se for the ride. We know this is where the entrance will be, and I believe that concrete will be reused for the entrance, is really what I should have said there. But they have made very steady progress in removing that pavement. The other thing you might be able to see from this photo, but you'll definitely be able to see in the next photos, is they have started to remove Zephyr's track. Now, don't panic. Zephyr will be back in 2024. No one needs to go over to the Zephyr station and form a memorial and light the candles and treat this thing like it's a ride that's never coming back. Zephyr will be back. It will follow the exact same footprint based upon the plans. But from what we know now about this ride and this new construction, what they're going to be doing, it makes even more sense beyond what I initially thought as to why Zephyr is being closed down. Initially, I thought Zephyr was being closed down because, of course, there's going to be heavy construction, site grading, heavy chunks of steel being flown into the site. And when I say flown into the site, I mean lifted by a crane into position. There's not going to be helicopters or planes flying steel. I initially thought that was the logical reason why they would be closing Zephyr. As we can tell from the renderings, as we can tell from confirmation both from the Dorney Park Twitter and Ryan at Dorney Park PR in multiple interviews he had and in response to Justin, Zephyr is going to go through a tunnel, and that tunnel may or may not have effects in it, and that tunnel may or may not have some sort of show in it. So of course, to make sure that they have the proper foundation ready and everything for this station building, for the tunnel, all of that, and obviously what probably is going to be the storage area for the trains on Iron Menace, they have to remove the track. So the track has been stacked up. You can see it in the right side of the photo. It has just been stacked up against that green fencing, but it has been removed and placed into an area where it's safe. I would theorize that it's probably going to move again, probably to an even safer area up in, as they get into more complex construction. But in this photo, you can see where they've removed all that, the trees, all that foliage. They've begun wood chipping it. There were dump trucks on site that, as of Saturday, were removing truckloads of material. Most of that was pavement. I would assume if they haven't done it by now, they will start soon removing that mulching material. It would be really awesome if the park reused that throughout the park and kind of was a little eco-friendly about removing the trees. But as far as what's currently going on, that's where we're at. We are at initial demolition phases. And as you can see in the background here, you can see the gravel road for the construction entrance has been laid. And I will point out that in the plans when we look at them in a minute here. And then this is just a closer look at Zephyr's track removed, stacked up, and waiting for replacement next year. So, where do we go from here? Alright. We're going to move into the construction plans here. And in the construction plans, I have highlighted in a almost Iron Menace orange box what we're looking at construction-wise. And what we are looking at within this box is where we have gotten so far with demolition. They have removed, based upon my best ability to line up photos with reference points and all that, all of the pavement that you see in this photo right here, outlined in that orange box. They have also removed, you can see a red tree just above the box there as you head towards, as you move in towards the what would be the bathrooms back there by the the bathrooms by the Haunt building. I apologize, I'm messing up my words here. So we have started the progression of the construction or the demolition on this ride. There's a lot more demolition to come. I would imagine this weekend we will see even more beyond where we're at. But next, we want to talk about what has been done for new construction. As far as new construction goes, there's not much to talk about. Circled in that, again, Iron Menace orange circle, you are going to see the gravel construction road entrance. That has been laid. I don't know if it's fully complete or not. I would assume, based upon the fact that they have heavy equipment back there, they had dump trucks receiving loads of material. I would assume that they have finished at least constructing that. We did see the compost filters out as they were identified where they were supposed to be, and I went over that in a previous video, which I will try to figure out how to make YouTube link right here. And then circled in that more oblong or Iron Menace orange circle is going to be where the station is going to go over top of the Zephyr track. Also, just to the left of where the construction road is, you're going to see a dotted line marked LOD. And the LOD line is something that we're going to talk about in a second here, because there have been a lot of markings showing up, and I have not yet seen anybody discuss what those markings are for. And as I stated with this whole video series, I wanted to be as detail-oriented and as factual and provide as much information to you as I possibly can. And maybe it's not information necessarily relating to the ride itself, but I wanted to give information that when you go to the park, you see that you know what's going on. You understand what that is and how that how that kind of interfaces with the construction of this brand new roller coaster at Dorney. So if you have been to Dorney in the last week or so, you would have noticed around the planters out front of Possessed some orange X's. And ignore that. We're going to start here, because that's where we were supposed to start, and I clicked the wrong button. So you're going to notice these orange X's, and they mark out an area all the way around those planters. For anybody that has read the construction documents as presented to South Whitehall Township back in February, March, these X's fall in line with that dotted line that says LOD. So what that dotted line is, we'll discuss in the next slide. But before we get there, there was something else that people noticed, and other YouTubers that have been at the park noticed. There's 3 of these circled nails. And one of them is right at the pavilions, right before you cross the bridge, heading into over towards Steel Force. And there's another one over by Possessed, and there's one even further down from Possessed. And again, I have yet to see any YouTuber talk about this, so let's talk about this. What these are markers for where they put their, and I don't know the specific name of the device, but it's a device on a tripod. We've all seen them at construction sites, and it's a laser system that there is a person on the other side of with a reflector, and they take measurements from that specific spot, which is a I guess a best way to put it, a fixed spot as far as altitude, elevation, distance from that other mark. That is what this is. That is where they center the tripod over top of. That is how they laser range find down to the other person with the reflector. And this is how they can help ensure that as they're grading the site, they are grading the site to the proper elevations as described in the construction documents or instructions, whatever you want to call it, for the layout of the footers, what elevation the footers need to be at, orientations of the footers, orientations of track pieces as they're being flown in. This all comes off of these markers. Now, back to the orange X's. The orange X's are what I have identified here with these yellow arrows. They stand for the limits of disturbance. And if you look at the construction documents presented to South Whitehall Township, you see this dotted black line that says LOD all throughout the construction site. Essentially what that does is it boxes out the areas that will be disturbed, that earth will be moved, grading will be done, demolition will be carried out within. So essentially what those X's are marking out are the limits of disturbance around those planters. Again, who knows when we're going to start to see work be done on those planters. I would say we'll probably just see it as we start to get closer to the off season. If not, we probably won't see it until there's maybe like an AC event or something like that at the park during the off season, or if we're privileged enough or lucky enough to be considered by Dorney Park to be media and get media tours of the construction site, something like that. But what they're marking out with all these X's are the limits of disturbance. So that's where we're at for the construction of this ride. That is a update based upon the construction documents presented to South Whitehall Township. What we're looking at, what we're seeing as these markings pop up. And that is today's update. If all you wanted to see was the update, you can stop the video here, but please definitely keep on watching, because it really does help me. It helps the YouTube channel grow. It helps the channel get views. I don't make money off of this. I want to provide information, and I want to have fun with this. So if you enjoy this, now we're going to get into some fun. Everybody knows who's an enthusiast who RMC is. And if you don't know who RMC is, you can name a few rides, and you probably know who they are based upon those rides. I'll name a couple. Wildcats Revenge was obviously the biggest talk in Pennsylvania for a new roller coaster this year. Steel Vengeance was a massive talk, and still is talked about in the general public as a great roller coaster. The Jersey Devil Coaster, awesome ride at Six Flags Great Adventure. These are all Rocky Mountain construction. So, why are we talking about Rocky Mountain construction? Let me preface this by saying this is 100% a wish list item, 100% not confirmed in any way, shape, or form, no matter how we twist Ryan's words from Dorney Park. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to twist his words like there is no tomorrow in a minute. But Dorney Park, or not Dorney Park, RMC surprised us with this today. So RMC has had a family version of their roller coasters out, and they've been teasing something to do with their iBox track over the last month, I want to say. And there was a lot of speculation. There was a lot of speculation of a open air thrill coaster. There was speculation of an inverted coaster. There was speculation of pretty much everything you can think of. A couple people that I saw on my Twitter, and follow us at Conoly Coaster Designs on Twitter, or X, whatever it's called. There were a couple people that said, "Wow, that looks like a Wild Mouse or a family coaster." All right. Well, RMC has unveiled that they are now producing a RMC iBox Wild Moose coaster. They have said that this is inspired by their giggle-inducing pre-lift sections, which when you look at this, yes, it looks like Wildcat's Revenge meets Steel Vengeance meets freaking you name it. Any one of their iBox coasters, any one of their reconstructions, this really does have that feel. But what's even cooler is they've designed this roller coaster to be extremely compact, extremely family friendly. They have designed it to fit within the footprint of a Wild Mouse, and they've designed it so that way the capacity is greater than that of your traditional Wild Mouse. Where am I getting at? Dorney Park has a Wild Mouse coaster, and it's a great Wild Mouse. Don't get me wrong. I've ridden it. It's fun. I freaked a attendant out earlier this year by way too excitedly saying, "Yeah, I'm ready to go." It's a great ride. But anybody that's been to the park knows that our Wild Mouse has horrendous capacity. And the lines could be dead anywhere else in the park, and you are waiting 20 to 25 minutes to ride our Wild Mouse. In a couple interviews, Ryan from Dorney Park hinted at how they had looked at Wild Mouse and how to possibly fix that capacity issue, or fix that the issue they have with getting guests through it. And I believe he said something to the effect of they've looked at even how to maybe put another attraction there. Ryan, I'm going to twist your words. At the same time, I'm going to put this on a wish list. And I know I'm a little nobody channel, but I'm going to do this. This would fit perfectly where our Wild Mouse is. You see, our Wild Mouse, based upon what I looked up on Google Earth, takes up a space of about 150 foot by 80 feet, which is exactly that of the Wild Moose coaster. On top of that, they say the Wild Moose coaster can use the existing, I believe they said, concrete pad of the previous roller coaster. It even sounds like, to an extent, I think I saw on Twitter someone talking about that it might be able to reuse or refurbish an existing ride structure. But beyond that, it doesn't stand any taller than our Wild Mouse, which means we don't need to worry about a freaking height waiver. Dorney Park, if you want to have an RMC in the park and you want to make people really happy, not just us enthusiasts, okay? This isn't just us enthusiasts. It is. I'm talking the general public too. Make them really happy and get the next generation of thrill seekers and enthusiasts, which Dorney Park does a great job of treating us enthusiasts unbelievably well. If you want to get the next generation going, you replace the Wild Mouse with a Wild Moose. You guys will have an RMC. You guys will have a attraction that can replace this at probably a relatively fair price. And I mean, when you guys are probably spending $25 million on Iron Menace, what's $5 million for an RMC? I mean, it's just a thought. It's just a thought, you know. You guys can surprise us with that in like 2026 or whatever you want to do with that. So that's going to do it for this week's construction update. And of course, yet again, I can't keep this thing short. I went over the 20-minute mark. So if you're still watching, thank you for watching. Please like, follow, subscribe. Go to Twitter or X or whatever you call it. Follow me at Conoly Coaster Designs. If you're on Discord, you can find the Conoly Coaster Designs Discord. It's possibly one of the better ways to keep in touch or say hi to me or anything like that. If you see me at the park, come up and say hi. I've already had a couple people do it. I love you guys. You guys make me feel like what I'm doing is appreciated, so that's awesome. As I always say, treat each other with love and kindness, okay? We're all nerds that geek out over this stuff. I just sat here and ranted for 5-10 minutes on a wild moose coaster that possibly will never come to Dorney Park, but this is what we do. So, again, treat everybody with love and kindness. We are all nerds. We all share this love for this niche community. So when we see each other out there, let's carry that enjoyment and that love of this niche community into the parks and into the real world. Until next week, I'm Henry from Conoly Coaster Designs. You guys have a nice night.